Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning weekly entertainment podcast. On this episode, we're reviewing the first season of TNT's new series, Snowpiercer, spoiler-free, the remake of Valley Girl, and our topic this week is crazy TV show premises. Let's get on with the show. My name is Aaron Peterson, and joining me this week, I'm for the host, John Davenport.
Hey, Aaron, how you doing today?
I am anxious to get outside. And Amanda Sink.
Hello. I am inside. I don't mind it, but I do like opening the windows for a light breeze and the sunshine.
Huh? That's the complete opposite of what he just said.
I know. I'm aware.
Excellent. I'm glad we've gotten nowhere.
I was just adding my own perspective. Jeez.
Well, I get to go outside whenever I want, so...
That's because you live in Florida. They don't care about you guys there.
They just roll the dice with your life. Like, sixes!
85% of your population is already close to the 6 feet, so...
Yeah. No, really, they're just like, hey, you know what? It's 90 degrees outside. It's going to burn off COVID-19. That's what we think anyways. Let's go ahead and just play with it.
You know what? I don't think it's been proven that it doesn't work that way. Can you prove it doesn't? Because that's what I'm going to go with.
I'm not really rolling the dice in either way, with the exception of I go outside with my own PPE and I'm good to go.
I thought he was saying his pee. I was like, why are you peeing everywhere?
A teaspoon of sunshine makes the medicine go down.
It's sterile.
We have different definitions of sterile.
Actually, pee is sterile.
You can drink it. Doesn't make it sterile.
This is a weird
argument. It is lacking of bacteria, though. It says that's the difference between pee and poo.
So that's how when you pee, that's how they determine if you have a bacterial infection? Oh, there's no bacteria in it?
Well, I mean, I
don't want to throw science at you, but I'm just letting you know.
When there's no bacteria, that means it's sterile.
When you have no bacteria, then you don't have an infection, but you can have bacteria in your pee. That's what I'm saying.
John's just always taking the risk that he has no infection. He's very maskless.
I'm just going to bathe in it because it's a good way to get the mosquitoes off of you. And, it's comfortable and it's nice.
It's a good way to get them. What the hell do you guys do in Florida?
What methods do you have in Florida?
Hey, stay still, baby. I'm going to get those mosquitoes off you.
Hey, you know what? There's a jellyfish thing out there just waiting for me.
You've been thinking about that moment.
No wonder your wife doesn't want to go to the pool with you. God, that's uncomfortable. News roundup. So here we go. You guys ready?
Ready?
No.
Pirates of the Caribbean reboot is moving forward without Johnny Depp and instead with a female lead. CBS renewed most of their shows. Fox has set up several already filmed episodes like the Bad Boys spinoff LA's Finest for the fall schedule. Muppets Now is bringing the Muppets back to TV on Disney Plus this summer. Also, Hamilton will debut on July 3rd on Disney Plus, skipping its planned theatrical debut next year. So we're actually getting it like almost a year and a half earlier than it was intended. The Rock and Emily Blunt will team up as a bickering married couple with superpowers and ball and chain. A National Treasure TV series in the works, possibly a third movie. They haven't confirmed that. Amazon is being sued for acting like users own their digital content when really you're just kind of leasing it. American Horror Story is getting a spinoff called American Horror Stories, where each hour is a self-contained ghost story. Comedian Jerry Stiller passed away at the age of 92. Popeye is making a return as an animated feature film. Korea is experimenting with a contact-free theater experience using technology in the post-coronavirus era. Oh, and Disney is holding firm on their July 24th theatrical release date for Mulan. So there's hope.
Are you sure?
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's what hope is spelled D-I-S-N-E-Y.
I thought it was
M-I-C-K-E-Y
an S.
M-O-U-S-E.
That looks like a river that flows through.
Well, once again, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm off the Superman. That's what the S is. It's S is the symbol for hope.
Oh, I thought you said something about M and then a river.
What?
You said something about a river.
I did say it's like a river because when Superman explains what the S stands for, because someone says isn't S a little bit on the nose, Superman? And he's like, no, well, it's not really an S. This is the symbol for hope, which this is the ever-going river that goes through something or other. That's what he says in Man of Steel.
Well, at least you quoted it, something or other, through the river and through the woods.
Oh, like you remembered exactly what I was saying, too. You know the scene.
No, all I remember Man of Steel is when his dad gets blown away and he could have saved him and it just ruined the whole movie. I'm just kidding. I like that movie. Amanda, of all of that, what do you think?
I want to know what you guys, I want to have the conversation about this potential
what's a conversation?
Change to movie theaters that Korea is testing out in touchless, basically a touchless business, which a lot of businesses are going to be moving towards. But how, like the verification of the ages or maybe your concession experience changes. Like, what do you guys think about this potential switch?
I will wait to hold my opinion on it until it actually happens. It's not something that I think is going to actually follow all the way through to here, because we don't like change, and if we fear it, and we are probably going to go right back to the way things were before. Whether there's people who have ideas of how it's better for us to not do that or not, we don't care. I'll wait and see until it actually happens.
That makes for a great podcast to not discuss things that are possible. I am very much of the mind that I'm for innovation. I mean, I don't want anyone to be out of a job, but I'm sure there's lots of jobs behind the scenes that just wouldn't involve touching my popcorn, I guess. I'm always for a touch-free experience. That's just how I like to do everything. Just don't touch me. And if that's what that means, that's great. There are many ways that we can do this without people taking our tickets and people. I mean, I don't know. I'm fine with this. I mean, it's automation. The world is full of automation. You're still going to need employees to make everything work, especially to make sure the projectors are kept maintained, to clean up the auditoriums, to do all the things that need to be done. You're still going to need employees. And this could be a really cool concept and solve some concerns. But you're still going to be touching a screen that other people are going to touch. And that's not much different than getting your popcorn fondled by a 16-year-old kid without...
You're still in the same vicinity as people. I mean, even if they were to keep masks on, how are you going to eat your popcorn? Like, I think we talked about that before. You just have to slide it up from the bottom.
Okay, well, you're talking about something else. Now you're segueing to that's not what you're talking about. This is basically just automation. That's all. No, I'm saying
about. Like even if they were to, because I'm sure this idea really stems from the COVID experience that's happening right now. But even if they were to make a smaller change and just have everyone wearing masks, which is where some states are right now, that isn't even, like, you're not even protected in this touchless experience.
There's always going to be a degree of touching that's going to happen, whether they try to...
Not necessarily.
Well, when it comes to like...
I disagree with that. Go ahead.
If you're being handed something from somebody, there's a touch degree there, right?
For concessions, but you can buy your ticket, go sit down, and not touch anybody. You never
oh yeah, you can.
You just touch things that other people have touched.
Right. That would mean you're gonna have to count on them to scrub down the theater to make sure that the seat that you're gonna sit in is completely sterile from the person that sat there before you.
I don't need a completely sterile seat. I'm not going back to. I'm not doing that.
Okay, so I'm just going like off of this whole touchless idea.
Okay.
Then from there, I use Fandango. That means that when I get to my theater, I can just pull up my app. There's a little barcode that I can hold out. Somebody scans it. I haven't touched anyone so far. Everything is, the money's already been transferred. There's already a touchless experience. Theaters can develop an app in which you can order your concessions right there in your app, and then they can either bring them to you, or there's like a line where you can just grab what you want to do, but it's all through apps. So you can actually do it with a minimal amount of touching, but there's always going to be some sort of degree of touching unless it's like the concessions are packaged in a way where it's completely disposable packaging in which they put it onto a plate or a platter or whatever you want to call it. And then from there, that layer of protection is removed so that you can take it and enjoy it.
I feel like there's going to be some amount of touching, but you can limit it quite a bit. And I'm fine with automation if that helps people feel safe and it gets theaters going again. And obviously, this is still some ways out regardless. This is just Korea trying and it's testing it. There's no way it comes here anytime soon. So it's not going to be anything that changes how we do movies. But I don't see a problem with automation. Like, progress is good. And I disagree with John in terms of the world not liking change. I do think the world we're changing phones every 15 minutes. I think the world is different in that respect, that our memories are very short-lived. We're all for the next best experience now. That's not how we used to be.
People are also very clingy to their experiences and the way that they process everything. They like to be able to, your analogy with phones, they're making a selection. They have a choice. Even if they only have so many plethora of choices, they still get to choose that. When somebody changes something to a model or an experience or a menu, and they no longer have the ability to make the same choices as they used to, or they have to go to a new selection that isn't their choice, that's when people get a little resistant. So I can see both sides of your perspective on the change issue. I mean,
yeah, but they'll still have the same option. Like, I want to, like John said, you grab an app, okay, or you go to a screen at the front desk, whatever it is that you have to do. You go up and you push on the popcorn. Do you want butter? Do you want a little butter, extra butter, lacquered? What do you want? Do you want it to be soaking wet? Think about
how people reacted to automation in McDonald's. Huge resistance. Everybody threw their arms up in the air and said, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that because they're going to mess up my order more than people already mess it up. And
okay, so it's
going to take jobs out.
Here's where I differ. The thing there is people on the internet do not equal the world. I think the large majority of the world has come to the idea that technology is good, easier is better. What is the quickest way for me to get my thing and get out of here and not have to deal with anybody? That's what they want. They want speed. They want efficiency. I promise you, the quicker they can get to that line, the happier they're going to be. And at this time and space, the safer they are, the happier they're going to be. All of these things increase those items. So I don't see a negative here. I would prefer a person so I could tell them, hey, more popcorn, fill that bucket or something like that.
More butter.
Yeah, exactly. That wasn't enough. Whatever it is, I like having the option and I like people. So I'm fine with it. And you know what? As long as you don't stick your finger into my bucket, I'm fine with you. But if people aren't safe with that, I see no problem with automation. I think it's a great idea. You can't say a negative about it until you see it and you try it, is how I would look at it.
But see, I wasn't saying anything negative about the idea. I was, I've had too many discussions in the last couple of days with people face to face about subjects like, why should I have to wear a mask? It's stupid, and I'm not going to do that. Like, I've had discussions like that just today from somebody who's older than I am. I've had discussions in which there's people who just want things to go back to normal and so that they can go and just live life the way they were doing before this whole went down.
Well, who doesn't want that? Everybody wants that.
Well, everyone wants that, right. But the conversations I've been having are to a degree in which they're upset with the possible idea of being told that you can't come in here without wearing a mask. How dare anyone tell them how to do that? It's just.
That's so America.
The idea, that's what I'm saying. That's America.
It's seen as a restriction or limitation without their control and consent.
Yeah, right. And I don't see this as that. I see this as automation making the experience less invasive in many people's ways.
But I think a lot of people will connect it back to
maybe
the pandemic currently, rather than I'm sure they've been working on this project for a while. It's just now is a really good time to try to launch it.
Yeah, it's not like
and people are going to associate it with what's going on and then get mad about that because it's happening because of it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the reason why it's coming about. And I don't know that people will make that connection initially. But to Aaron's point, on the other side, people also forget about stuff quick. So the next thing that gets them really upset and the next thing that changes, they'll be on to that. You know what I mean? Like people get so upset and
I just need to yell at somebody.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotional instability, especially right now, that people are real weird about anything that's different than their norm that they associate with this current climate.
My brother went to Japan this past December. And he was there for a couple of weeks, and I was just talking to him this week, and he said that the people in Japan wear masks all over the place, like everywhere, just out of general respect and concern for their fellow man and woman.
Which is really considerate. How are they not warm all the time? Like, those things are real warm. How do you wear glasses on a regular? I mean, I guess you can somebody said you can put something on your glasses and it'll make them not fog up.
If you
but I
get a
feel like
surgical
that would
mask
ruin
and you bend it over your nose, your glasses won't fog up. People forget
Right.
there's like a nose bracket.
it. Unless you get the ones that are homemade.
All right,
Those don't have the home
If it's
bracket.
boring me, it's got to be boring them. So let's move on to something else. John, what stood out for you here?
Oh my God, I forgot almost about everything we're talking about. I I really want to see a third National Treasure. I don't know if I want the
Heck
TV
yeah.
show so much, but you know what? A TV show could probably be pretty great if they handle it a lot more like pulling out the history and why things happen the way they did. But at the same time, I also really want a third movie.
Those are good Nick Cage movies.
Hey, they're all good Nick Cage movies. Nick Cage is good in all those movies. I don't know if the movies are necessarily good.
I was going to say.
But
I'm more of a treasure protector.
Can we talk about just the plot of those movies? Like, at some point, it's a great idea to steal the Declaration of Independence and walks away scot-free pretty much at the end. Good.
Well,
Way to work that out.
He had to turn some people in for it. So yeah,
It's a hell of a deal. Hell of a deal.
I'm going to hand you several gazillion dollars and a bad guy, and I get a tenth of that, or a percentage of that, 1% of that, and I get to keep on living my life the way I want to with 1% of a gazillion dollars.
Win-win. Win-win. Those were
That
fun,
sounds
though.
like our justice system.
Yeah. Those were definitely fun movies. I would love to see a third movie. I think we've talked about it in this show many times. We would love to see a third one. And now you've got Disney Plus. If you don't want to put it in a theater, make it for Disney Plus. I think that would bring people to your channel, to your streaming channel. I mean, that would be that would be a hook.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Way more than Mighty Ducks.
Hey, don't hate on the Mighty Ducks, man.
I'm not hating on it. I just I'm not going to sign up for Disney Plus to see elderly Emilio Estevez leading kids to a hockey championship. Just not
Man,
gonna
I
do
signed up for Stars for a whole lot less than the Mighty Ducks.
I would just let you know. It's just, yeah.
I'm just saying there are desperate people out there.
Hey, so you shared with me an article in which somebody's going to be coming back to play freaking stupid ass Boba Fett and The Mandalorian soon, and you didn't bring it up here in the news roundup.
I don't consider that really news. Boba Fett's good.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't really consider that news. But if you do, go ahead. I mean, we're going to talk about, we never talk about every casting thing, like unless the big one. I guess that's a big one to you.
Some people see it as spoilery, though.
Those people don't listen to our podcast. I don't know what they.
Other people think it's stupid.
There are a lot of people that think it's stupid. There are some people that are overjoyed about this momentous occasion.
Yeah, what's going to happen? Is Boba Fett going to show up and Mando's going to show him how to actually do his job?
Wow. Tamira Morrison is going to return as Boba Fett in The Mandalorian. That's what we're talking about. And I don't know. I mean, we're finally going to see him get out of that Sarlacc pit, right? Yay.
Good news.
John hates Boba Fett, in case you didn't know, in case you're new to the podcast. Just so you know.
Stupid character.
That's why he has to bring up something we didn't even have to talk about, just so he could be negative about it.
I'm not being negative about it.
Really?
I'm sharing.
Say a nice thing about Boba Fett right now. One nice thing.
He died. He's dead. And everyone who's like, Boba Fett apparently is, Boba Fett's going to be a Mandalorian. Isn't that great? Well, apparently you don't like the Mandalorian enough because the Mandalorian did a better job of being Boba Fett than Boba Fett did.
That's true.
Because you know what? You know how the Mandalorian didn't die? By a blind man with a stick.
He just needed to get this out of his system.
He says it like all the time, man, and this isn't new. All right, so I'm going to move on to something else because I can't handle
He said no.
the Fett. Hamilton will debut on July 3rd. I talked about that. That gets me really excited. I've never seen the stage play. I'm not going to spend a small mortgage payment to go see that concert, but I would love to see it, and I'm pretty excited that it's going to come to Disney Plus, even though they're going to neuter some of the language. But
Are they really?
Yep. Well, it's Disney Plus.
It's Disney Plus.
The times I was been in New York recently, I signed up to be on the lottery and be able to go into that show, and I didn't get it each time. But that would have been great to be able to see it.
I've gone and I've bought lottery tickets for 15 years of my life, and then all of a sudden I never won. So this is a fun
You
story.
are full of stories that are going nowhere. Jesus.
Where are you going? Nowhere.
Nowhere.
All right, we're moving on. Remember, you can find more information at thehollywoodoutsider.com. Join our Facebook group. We're on Twitter at BuyPopcorn. We're going to move on to movie Innuendo, Avengers edition, because we would have had some kind of Marvel Cinematic Universe movie right now if it wasn't for El Corona. Now, the movie Innuendo, if you weren't aware, each of us is going to pick 2 innocent lines from any Marvel Cinematic Universe film and deliver them as innuendo. That's right. These lines would mean something totally different if they were just delivered a different way. And then we'll see who does it best when we're done. The order we're doing this, John, Amanda, me, we got 2 lines. John, you go first. Go ahead. Toast the movie and then deliver your line.
From Avengers, Tony Stark, I have a Hulk.
How was that? That didn't come out dirty. That didn't come out as innuendo.
His thing.
I got it, Amanda, but if you got to explain it, it's not innuendo. That's just like...
Well, see, I didn't explain it. She did, because she thought you were dumb.
No, it just... Okay. Hey, you know what? They can't all be winners. That's all I got to say. All right, mine is from Captain America First Avenger. It's Peggy Carter.
That's a terrible line.
It's Peggy Carter. Come on. My grandmother has more life in her. God rest her soul. Move it.
I don't know if that was as sexy as John's.
You know, I think we're just going to get rid of this whole bit. Go ahead, Amanda.
No, keep going. This is great.
Yeah, it's great radio. Everybody's fast forwarding.
So mine is from Thor Ragnarok, and it comes from Thor. Hang on. Give it a second. I swear, I'm not even moving. It's doing this thing on its own.
See, it worked. That one works. That's
that one
good.
works. That one works. All right. Number 2.
All right. This is Nick Fury, also from Avengers. There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people to see if we could become something more.
Is this... I don't know that I fully understand this one.
It's an orgy joke. Come on.
Okay, I thought I got it, but I wasn't sure.
Did you say an orgy joke?
Orgy joke.
Did you throw an O in there? I don't think there's 2 O's.
I mean, I haven't listened to a lot of Spanish stuff lately, so my accent's been throwing in extra letters here and there.
All right, so you guys pick. Do you want it from Eric from Thor or Thanos?
Eric from Thor?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. I want Eric from Thor.
Well, she already beat you. It's Thanos. You know, fun isn't something one considers when balancing the universe, but this does put a smile on my face.
That one's good. That one's good.
That's okay. That's a good one.
All right, so mine is from Tony Stark in Iron Man 3. Jarvis, do me a favor and blow Mark 42.
That works.
I think that's the winner right there.
Yeah, I think that's the winner. And yeah, Eric from Thor. You don't remember Eric? He's the...
I remember Eric.
Okay.
It took me a second.
All right. Jeez.
Did you want to use your honorable mention?
All right. Oh, I still don't think you're the god of thunder, but you ought to be. That's the other one.
I had a really inappropriate backup.
Well, inappropriate isn't innuendo. That's just
it
on the
is.
nose.
No, it says, he may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy. And that's from Guardians, Volume 2. It's uncomfortable, but it's great.
Okay.
You should have led with that one, honestly.
I should have? Okay. I couldn't decide. I had 3 good ones.
Yeah, you should have led with that one.
Our show is independently funded, therefore all the expenses are from our own pockets. Patreon helps fans support the favorite podcast. Up this month is a bad movie night episode on Gerard Butler's Angel Has Fallen. And our bonus episode at the end of the month will have several interesting topics. And we don't have a regular episode at Memorial Day week, but we will have a Patreon episode that week. So there you go. You sign up and you get extra stuff. Now, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/The Hollywood Outsider. That's patreon.com/The Hollywood Outsider and support your favorite show. Now we go to spoiler-free reviews. And the first up is Snowpiercer Season 1.
Aaron saw this one. He got to preview it a little bit earlier than everybody else.
All 10 episodes, baby.
Did it? Let me just ask, do you feel satisfied?
Like with my life or with the show?
Well, I mean, do you want to talk? Do you need to talk?
I mean, I kind of wish I would have made some different life choices, but I am where I am. Here it is.
That's fair. That's fair.
Show me on the doll where this TV show touched you.
Right in the heart. I did like it. By the end, I was very satisfied. I really dug how they ended it too.
Well, let me give you a little refresher if you didn't get a chance to see the movie and you're unfamiliar with the content. And I'm sure Aaron will fill in maybe where some differences are. But Snowpiercer is based on the 2013 film, and there was a graphic novel. I'm sorry, 2014 film and 2013 graphic novel.
No, you're right. 2013 is actually when it released in Korea, and it came out in America in 2014.
Delightful, I was correct. So for this one, the mysterious Mr. Wilford built Snowpiercer, which is a train of 1,001 cars to connect and traverse the world in order to facilitate the survival of the human race. Tickets were sold, and like you find in every city today, the better your station in life, the more apt you are to end up comfortably enjoying your surroundings while watching as the rest of the world plummet into icy despair. Very dark and dour and dystopian universe. So, Aaron, first of all, how closely does this relate to the film, or if you read the graphic novel, to that?
I mean, I'll get to that right away. Whenever I write a review, I don't read anyone else's work until after I've written mine, because otherwise it gets in your head as a critic. So I did, after I had mine and it's up and posted, I'm like, I gotta go check out some of these other ones. And there's a bunch of them complaining about what is in the movie and isn't in here. And I don't understand that, because it's a completely different property. It doesn't need to be in here. It's its own thing. Let it be its own thing. If you need those things, go watch the movie. So the first thing I will tell you is, if you want to enjoy the show, if you truly want to enjoy the show, let the movie go. It's its own thing. You're not losing it. You're not missing out on anything. Chris Evans is always going to be there. Nobody's coming close to Tilda Swinton and her weird ass portrayal there. It's there. Leave it. It's basically similar plot, different circumstances. Like, I believe in the movie, it was like 17 years after the freeze they were on this train. Here it's like 7 or 8. And, you've got 1,001 cars. That's the same. Mr. Wilford built Snowpiercer. That's the same. And he's this mysterious, enigmatic presence that's in every car, but no one ever sees or hears. No one ever really sees or hears him in person. So he's kind of this lording figure on the train, but he's never really there. And the whole idea of the train is to save the human race. And that's very similar to what the movie had. So yes, there are very similar factors. The train is divvied up into different classes. First class is your rich people. And then you've got the less wealthy, but working stiffs. They're relegated to second class. Then you have third class, which is essentially janitors and the less desirable jobs that are on the train. And then way in the back, you have the tailies, which are this group of people that basically broke in. I mean, the train was taken off and they fought and forced their way onto the train into the very back of it. So now they're there, and they're in an always ongoing plot to force their way forward in the train. They feel like they deserve to be forward. So there's definitely an argument against them being there that is relevant to the people on the rest of the train.
Now, you talked a little bit about, in your review, Jennifer, well, a lot of it about Jennifer Connelly and how much you loved her performance. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you a second to talk about how much you love her, but also anybody else that stood out to you.
Yeah, I'll come to her last. So Andre Layton is played by David Diggs. He's our focal point for the tailies, and Jennifer Connelly is our focal point for the front of the train, the engineers. And what David Diggs is portraying a guy who's quote unquote a train detective. Andre Layton is a train detective. He's needed by Jennifer Connelly's Melanie Cavill to investigate a murder. That's how he's introduced. And so they basically pulled it, because he's the last detective on Earth, apparently, on this train, apparently. So they pull him out of the tail and bring him forward. Now he sees this as a great opportunity, because that means that he can get a good feel for the rest of the train and how it works and how to get in and out, how to navigate, how to do everything he needs to do to get where they want the tailies to get. Diggs' performance is one that really builds as it goes, because his is a character who's very much a pacifist, but to get to the point where he needs to get to, where they can actually fight for their right to party in first class, he has to actually learn how to be much more of an aggressor, much more of a guy willing to sacrifice and willing to take blood, because he's not that guy at the beginning. He has to build to that. So the whole season's kind of building his character. I think he does, after he gets his feet wet, like the first 4 episodes are really about investigating this situation, and then it kind of spirals and steamrolls into something else, which I'm not going to spoil. That's really where his character really takes off and finds his footing and gets going. And you start to see like a lot of different layers. Also, Mickey Sumner's Bess Till. She's kind of the law enforcement officer on board. She's relegated to third class, but she moves up to second because she's with her girlfriend. And she really plays the character of a woman who's coming to terms with maybe she's on the wrong side. Maybe some of the cruelty she's seen over the years isn't right. And the Tailies deserve a chance to fit into their society. Like they shouldn't be suffering in the back, freezing and having to sleep all together and everything else that happens in the tale. So I love her role. And then you have Ruth Wardell, who's played by Allison Wright, and she's kind of Melanie's right hand of hospitality. And she's bought into Mr. Wilford's dream, hook, line, and sinker. That's all she thinks about is honoring Mr. Wilford and doing his bidding and making him a happy guy. And she does a great job of just being like this really snooty flight attendant that everyone has met on a plane at some point. You know, like she always wanted to be, she loves first class. Man, I hate when I have to work the back of the plane, you know, like those flight attendants. But then you've got Jennifer Connelly, and she's stellar, absolutely stellar, because throughout the season, I don't want to say she shifts, because her point of view always remains the same. But we as the audience are always questioning what her motives are. You know, as the show goes on, we're always wondering, is she for the train? Is she against the tail? What does she really stand for? Like, what are her goals and what are her motivations? And they can shift episode to episode. There are moments when you absolutely loathe her, and there are moments when you absolutely love her. And most actors can't play that character very well. They can't play it very fluently. She does a wonderful job. And in my review, I equate it to Anthony Hopkins in the first season of Westworld, his character of Ford, where you can't tell is he good or bad, but you just love watching him.
That's awesome. That sounds like a really stellar cast and knockout performances. When you talk
Jennifer
about...
Connelly is the knockout. Like everybody else does a very good job. She's a knockout.
Okay. When I think about TNT, because that's the television company, I guess, that's putting this together for us. It's not on a streaming service.
They know drama.
Right. That's what I think of, though. I think of drama. I think of, good storytelling or, very out there performances that engage you. But I don't necessarily think of automatically incredible quality or production, like production quality. And so how does this compare to some of the standards we've gotten used to with some of our streaming services, particularly HBO?
I don't know if that's fair. The Alienist was great, and I Am the Night was really good too. So they have some.
They've grown. That's true.
Yeah, they've grown. And I know this production had a lot of struggles getting done, and originally it was going to be on TBS. For some reason, no one can explain to me. Like, makes no sense. But yeah, I think it fits very well. Is it as good as like HBO? No, probably not. But it's for basic cable. I think it's really good. And man, they really try to up the adult entertainment here because there's a lot of rumps going on. There's definitely some sexy time. Yeah, there's some naute going on in this series. And I can't really say anything without spoiling anything, so I don't want to do that. But every episode has something where I'm like, I can't believe that's on TNT. Oh, is this TNA? No, it's TNT. Oh, wow. I didn't know. That's like that.
Ha!
Shut up.
So one of the last questions that I want to ask you is about Bong Joon-ho, because he's the creative maker here for Snowpiercer, and a lot of people now know him from Parasite. Although he's
creative maker, is that an industry term? I'm not familiar with that.
That's my term.
Okay.
I like it.
You mean director?
Well, that too.
Okay.
But creative maker is kind of catchy.
He directed the movie. Sure.
So how do you feel about the way that the TV show was directed? Do you feel like that was stellar, as knockout as some of the rest of the quality seems to be for the TV show? It seems like the performances were good, the story was good, the production was good. It sounds like it's well-rounded.
The production was mostly good. You still have a lot of contained areas. So, it's not like you can get a lot of crazy camera angles when you're bouncing through a train and you only have like 12 feet of space. And I will say if you need a negative, like here's where it really differs from HBO. You go look at HBO and they show the exterior shots. They're going to look grandiose and glorious. These, not so much. I was never really impressed anytime we were outside of the train. I was never like, wow, that's a beautiful shot of that ice background or the train careening through the track. Like, it's just kind of like, okay. I mean, that's not great. But you're not outside of the train very much, so I don't really care about that. In terms of, I forget what your question was. Oh, him not being the director? I didn't really think about it, Amanda, I'll be honest. I mean, I really try very, very specifically to separate the movie from the show because I didn't think it was fair to the show to review it based on the movie. It's just...
Well, and he's still an executive producer on it,
yeah,
so it's not like he's gone away.
It's not evoking his style. It's definitely doing its own thing. It's not his kind of movie. I mean, it's just not... Like, I'm not watching it thinking, this is his work. This is Junho's work. I just don't think of that while watching it. To me, it really looks like more mainstream American TV ventures than that.
That's kind of what I was curious about, is if it was going to have a little bit of his brand on it still,
not that
or if
I
it
saw.
would be more of its own thing.
It's definitely its own thing. I mean, and after a while, like after you get through the pilot and you kind of get the set pieces and the plot points that are definitely factors of the movie, here, once you get past that, I really didn't even think about the movie very much. Other than occasionally, I'm like, Chris Evans would have been great here.
Oh, God, he was so great in the film.
Mm-hmm.
So if the full price of admission were $10, what are you giving the Snowpiercer TNT series that comes out May 17th?
$7.50. And I will say it's already been renewed for season 2. And I really dug how they ended it. So like at the end of season 1, you're amped for season 2, which is a good thing. It builds to a great ending.
That's awesome. Some people have differing feelings and opinions on endings like that. But if it's renewed, then it gives you hope to come back to.
That's the trick. If it wasn't renewed, I might feel differently. But it was renewed, so I'm good with it. So we'll be back. All right. Now we go from Snowpiercer to Valley Girl. And this is going to make some people mad because a lot of people were angry that they remade this one. I'm like, I didn't know this was so revered. I mean, it's a wacky Nick Cage movie from the 80s. Set in the 1980s. Well, there's a wraparound story. Alicia Silverstone has a daughter who is getting in some trouble. So she tells her daughter the story of how she went through her youth back in the 80s. So we're set to this new wave 80s soundtrack. A pair of young lovers from different backgrounds defy their parents and friends to stay together. It's a musical adaptation of the 1983 film. Stars Jessica Roth, Josh Whitehouse, Judy Greer, Chloe Bennett, and a dickhead YouTube star. So Amanda... what's his name? Logan
Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, he's the worst.
You know what? In the movie, he's a douche, so it works great.
You still hate him. Yep.
Yeah. You don't have the baggage of the original weighing you down. So what did you think about taking this 80s romance, setting it to an 80s soundtrack where they do sing it? The stars do sing all the music in here. How did you feel about doing it this way to begin with?
My God, I love it. I really, so when we talked about it, even just last week, I was not sold on it. I will have a disclaimer that I was a little bit biased because I have like a personal issue with Logan Paul. But as Aaron had mentioned, he's really not that significant in the film. So it didn't deter me from watching it. I decided to go for it. Aaron had a huge recommendation after he saw it. And I was like, I've just got to push through and watch it. And probably 20 seconds in, I was like, oh my God, this movie is awesome. If you are, and I was not somebody who grew up in my teenage years through the 80s. We've had enough discussions on this podcast about my age. And so I was a 90s kid, but I always loved 80s music. I've always loved 80s aesthetic. I've always loved everything about it from, what I've seen and watching MTV when it actually had music and all those different things that took me to that time that I never got to fully experience other than through memories and people reliving it. And so this was like a way for me to kind of inject myself into that world and relive some of the songs that I would sing with my mom. Mm-hmm. And it's just like a lot of fun. Like it makes you feel good. But then the other side of it is also really me. It's the punk side. It's like this really tattooed, sleeveless shirt guy, and he's trying to swoop this girl off her feet, and he's like a rock star, and they go and they mosh, and it's just merging those two worlds together. And she has a really hard time getting her friends to feel that she accepting to her being more than just one type of person. And I've always felt that. So I was really able to connect to her character and the feelings of, you know what, I don't have to be isolated to and branded to just this one thing. I can love multiple things. And it was really great. And the music was phenomenal. You're going to sing the whole time. And their voices were really good. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, and they did some really clever, and it reminded me a lot of like Grease for the 80s in many ways. And when some of the actors are singing, and they'll go back and forth from different songs. Like there's one scene where they're in a gym, I think it was, where the girls are going back and forth, and they're singing different songs as they go, as they're kind of like arguing their cases back and forth to each other, but through different songs. I thought that was really creative. Like there's so many creative moments, and all of them make me just smile. So I got that.
I loved, and because you bring it up, I love that they didn't just make it, we're going to break out in song. Because sometimes it's really hard to buy, and it's just like, oh, if you really like the music, then it's not so cringy. But if you don't, then for everybody else, it's like, please turn it off. And they did not do that. They found really creative ways to integrate the music and the singing so that it felt more natural.
Yeah, I mean, it's still ridiculous anytime anyone's singing anywhere.
True.
I firmly believe that. But if you know that going in, it's kind of on you. If you don't like the idea of that, just don't bother. But I only watched this because everybody was hating on it so much, just the idea of it. And I'm like, well, I got to check this thing out. And I smiled the entire movie. So who were the standouts in the cast for you?
Well, it's hard to say that the two leads don't stand out for you, because Jessica Roth, if you know her from Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You, she is really just captivating on screen. It doesn't matter what kind of character she's being, whether she's in Happy Death Day, she was kind of a biatch. And then here she's this really adorable, perky Valley girl that a lot of people would normally probably hate because her clique is the worst. But she is not, and she sells that, and it's really hard to sell.
Well, they're the worst, but I will say they're not just vapid. I mean, there are layers to them as you find throughout the movie. So I wouldn't say that they're not the worst. I kind of came to like them as I went.
Well, okay, one of them's the worst. I didn't like her.
Yeah, one of them
is
the worst.
And one of them is actually from Riverdale. I can't remember her. She played Josie in Riverdale, but I can't remember the actress's name right now. But she's really great. And she has a lot of chemistry, a great voice. So it was fun hearing her sing. And the way that Jessica Roth just handles her characters, and you can feel her shifting. Like she's learning that there's a different part of her that she can connect with because of this exposure of an experience she's never had before. Going to kind of more of like the rundown side of town or whatever. And then you have
Ashley Murray is her name. She played Lauren.
Oh, the actress?
Yep.
Yeah, she's really great. I like her a lot. And then you have Josh, what is it, Whitehouse? And for some reason, I did not, when I like saw the trailer or like a photo posting, I was like, ooh, he looks kind of cheesy. But when you watch him, he's really charming. He in a punk kind of way. Like he doesn't try to make himself fit in, but he's really just so naturally swooning with this girl, and he makes you kind of, oh, especially when he sings to her and stuff and just swoops her off her feet. But then you feel like there's always, you know, an issue that has to be overcome in any film. And so as these two face that, you kind of go through the roller coaster with them.
Any issues with the story or performances?
No, I really, really liked it.
The only thing I didn't like was the end has that, and so-and-so ended up here, and so-and-so ended up there. You know, they have that post credits, here's where they went life thing. And it sucked because they had a great ending. I didn't need that.
It kind of felt like they were trying to make it seem like it was a real
80s movie.
Just like it really happened, like a real story.
I mean, it did, technically. She was telling her story. So all those people.
No. I'm saying like they at the very end, it felt like they were trying to say like this was a real life experience.
Oh,
like,
this is
our reality.
This is where your age is there. As John and I know, in the 80s, movies did that like all the time.
I'm aware of that, but I'm just saying that's why it wasn't bothering to me, because it felt like it just felt like it was part of that. That stuff doesn't bother me.
It would be fine if they wouldn't have already ended great and they just came in.
They did have a really great closing shot.
They did. All right, so $10 full price admission. What do you give Valley Girl 2020?
$7.50.
Sweet. Well, be careful when you rent it, because you might end up with a Nick Cage one if you get it wrong.
Yeah, listener Paula Sell.
2020 is the year you're looking for. All right, let's move to we got some new releases coming out, and then we're going to go to our topic. Scoob is out on May 15th on PVOD. It's originally set for theaters. Scoob is now a VOD release, and you can rent it for $20 or own it for $25. So for $5 more, your kids can watch it all day, every day. Every day. Scooby and the gang face their most challenging mystery ever. A plot to unleash the ghost dog Cerberus upon the world.
Cerberus.
Cerberus? Cerberus.
I can't believe Johnny just corrected you on
it means
how to
spot.
say a word.
Oh, okay. What? Sibyllus. As they race to stop this dog apocalypse, the gang discovers that Scooby has an epic destiny greater than anyone imagined. Also has an origin story for the gang where somehow Shaggy and Scooby-Doo met as a kid and a pup, which means Scooby-Doo is roughly 254 years old in dog years.
But he also talks, so it's okay.
You guys have really good scoobs. So then we have American Trial, the Eric Garner story, which comes to VOD on May 17th. By depicting real-life witnesses and actual evidence in a courtroom setting, American Trial will tell the story of the trial that may have occurred had NYPD officer Daniel Pantaleo been indicted for the killing of Eric Garner in Staten Island, New York. That sounds like it's going to be real powerful.
That doesn't sound like a party.
No, sounds heartbreaking.
Yeah, it does. Blood and Money on May 15th, VOD. A retired veteran hunting in northern Maine stumbles across a dead woman and a large sum of money. This is directed by John Barr and stars Tom Berenger. You know what? I've been saying there's not enough Tom Berenger in the world lately.
Have you really?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Because who really misses him?
Also, half of that plot sounded really cool.
The trailer is actually really good.
Yeah, the trailer's pretty fantastic.
I just mean I want to find a bunch of money.
Well,
you don't want to be a dead woman found in the woods in northern Maine?
Not ideally. If we could avoid that, that'd
be great. The whole
plot,
just a little bit of the plot, just the getting rich part. That's the one part.
I'm just glad I can't be a dead woman in the middle of the woods in Maine.
You can if you want to.
Hey, you can however you want when you die in the middle of the woods in Maine.
We support you.
That's going to edit it out.
It's so funny,
That should have been stopped a little while ago.
Yeah, but it was so funny.
Okay, let's go to our From the Outside In topic. In the vein of Snowpiercer and how they're making the series Stuck on a Bullet Train last for seasons somehow, what are some of the crazy TV show premises you've run into? Like basically premises that just blew your mind. I can't believe they made this a TV show. We're going to each run through ours and we're going to do round robin. Amanda, John, me. Amanda, lead us off. All right. So break this down, what the show was, what it was about, and then we'll decide if it was really crazy or not.
Okay, this one I'm really excited about. I will say I've never actually watched the show.
You don't have to watch
But I
them.
did find this wild premise.
Okay.
And it's just bonkers. And I've seen like some clips and photos. An immortal human-monkey hybrid with magic powers who is born from an egg on a mountaintop joins a Buddhist monk who's actually a woman on a pilgrimage to India. There's more. They are accompanied by a water monster named Sandy and a pig monster named Pigsy, and they travel around either on a biddable cloud or a shape-changing dragon who serves as the group's horse. The horse can talk and is voiced in the English version by Andrew Sachs.
I grew up watching this in Spanish.
Did you?
I did.
What?
And I loved this show.
What the hell is this show? It's not.
It's
What
weird.
is this show?
It's the Monkey King story. It's based off of Chinese lore. So you have this character who's the monkey god, and it's basically a Chinese superhero story based off of what they make their superheroes off of.
Ah, so when you see it though, this one works.
Yeah, when you see it, this totally. I mean, it's the 70s when this was made, so I mean, works is in quotations, but but yeah, when you see it, it actually works for what it is and where it came from.
Okay, all right, that's exciting. I mean, I think that sounds nutty, but John obviously grew up with it. He was a fan of it. I'm not gonna knock that premise. That sounds absolutely absurd.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the picture for the cover, I was like, I think I watched this. And when I listened to your description and the whole part where he rides around the cloud, I was like, I did watch this.
It sounds like a show you would watch while you're really high eating pizza or like on an acid trip.
I mean, all those things were possible.
What was your childhood like?
I don't know.
It was a third world country.
They're just handing that stuff out like candy, right?
Yeah, it was
That's
time
what
in
Halloween
Noriega,
All right, John, what's your first crazy TV show premise?
All right, so my first one, and it's at the time it was released, I didn't really think it's so crazy, but as an adult, I look back at it and I think this is actually kind of nuts. So, Small Wonder, it's basically the story of a robotics engineer who builds himself a daughter, and he's already got a son, so the daughter is sort of like a playmate. So
what?
Wait, playmate?
Yeah, a daughter
For the brother. For the brother, Amanda.
For the brother.
Okay.
Easy. It's not that
you
kind
need
of
to
show.
settle down, young lady.
Wow. No wonder she got that whole Hulk thing.
I know, right? She went right to the Hulk thing and God, took it right on the chin and everything. So like, the whole premise of this is just weird to me because... So that means if it's supposed to be a kid, that means he's got to update it every so often so that it grows like a human being because robots don't grow. Like the whole did you guys watch it?
No.
Hard.
That's right. What was I thinking? Like you weren't born in the 80s and it's a sitcom, so Aaron wasn't going to bother.
Aaron doesn't watch many sitcoms, I tell you that.
I will say that I don't find the premise of a father building himself a robotic daughter to be weird because you could actually build a really sad story into that. Like he lost his child and so he's rebuilding her to have some sort of reminder, or him and his wife could never have children. So they decided to build a child or whatever it could be. But just for the son, it sounds like the son was not really what he was hoping for. And so he decided to try to up the ante with his own build.
That's what I was thinking.
So I think you just talk yourself into like how weird of a story this is.
It's so weird. This guy's sitting here going, man, it isn't like they never could have children. So he built a daughter then. I've got one. He's not cutting it. So what I need is my own.
He's too much of an a-hole.
Yeah. He's just not a good enough kid. Like, I don't consider him mine, so I got to make my own. I got to do my Apple version. And then he's got somebody to play with and hopefully learn how to be a good kid that I can respect. That's really what this is.
Also, you know how much, like, just what's the word I'm looking for? He's just going to be, I don't know either.
Ecclesiastical.
The boy is going to be so resentful to the robot girl because that's going to be the perfect child because the dad is literally building it to be what he wants it to be. So this child is never going to live up to his father's expectations. And that just sounds really sad.
Okay, I just want to point out, if you have to actually build a second child, you're never going to get to amount to his aspirations anyway. You might as well just move out. Like, go take a chance. Like, just go live on the street.
Find a tunnel.
Be a prostitute or deal meth. Whatever you have to do, get out of that house. It's not safe. You win.
Okay, that sounds like that one's weird.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
It's weird.
Okay, so mine is I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit first, and that's Alf. So it ran for 4 years and 99 episodes, but 3 of those were hour-long, so they split them apart just so they had 102 episodes so they could syndicate it. It's a true story. Alf was about Gordon Shumway, a sarcastic, friendly extraterrestrial nicknamed Alf, which is an acronym for alien life form, who loves to eat cats. And he crash lands in the garage of a suburban middle-class Tanner family. There also eventually, I think, was a TV movie to give it a proper conclusion. I think there was a spin-off cartoon, if I remember right.
Yep.
Yeah. And Alf was performed by puppeteer Paul Fusco. And he also co-created the show with Tom Patchett. This was a show that was basically about a family that interacted with an alien who was a puppet. And it was just odd. And I still liked it. Like, I watched it almost every week, but it was just odd. And it was kind of crazy that was an idea that actually worked for 100 episodes.
And it's kind of creepy looking.
No, he's not.
He's adorable.
He is adorable.
We have different thoughts on what adorable is.
He eats cats, Amanda, so he's like the best kind of alien.
Like, he's the best.
That's why you like it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you have a cat problem, just get yourself an Alf. I mean, you're solved.
Yeah, and he's sarcastic. I like both of these things. These are like, they speak to me. Alf spoke to me when I was a kid. So even if this is a crazy idea, it's one of the few sitcoms I really liked.
I feel like that could teach a lot to people subconsciously about accepting those that are different from you.
Sure.
So I'm not
Okay, let's back off the
opposed to
social
it.
justice warrior bit here. Come on.
That's not what Alf was about, all right? Alf
Okay,
didn't
well,
care
you
about
never
anybody.
know.
It wasn't about being nice to other people. It was actually more about being a dick to one another because of how much Alf was actually just like the worst person to share your house with. He, in every single way, you felt obligated to keep him around because you knew as soon as the government got their hands on him, they would actually dissect him. So you're like, he's a living person. He speaks English for some strange reason. I don't know why. And I mean, he's kind of cute and he takes care of our cat problem. Like,
It sounds like family. It just sounds like a normal family.
it's exactly what it is. Like the whole show was more about family and caring.
But he
and,
never ate the cat, and it was really disappointing. Like, it was really just, I really wanted one episode where they were like, Lucky, where, have you seen Lucky?
Then how do you know he eats cats?
Because he's constantly trying to eat him.
He's constantly trying to eat the cat. They're constantly yelling at him for trying to eat the cat.
But he's definitely a puppet, so technically you could just put the cat across the room and he couldn't get to it because, you can't show him running.
I really want to see like the Boondock Saints scene with Alf in it.
That was great. Tasty. All right, man.
What was that? Oh, look, flambéed cat.
What's your next one?
My next one is called Armed and Famous. Did either of you ever watch this reality show?
I don't like reality shows.
Hum me a few bars.
I don't know it. So it's about B-grade celebrities that are trained as cops with the police department in Indiana. Jack Osborne and LaToya Jackson actually got the show sued when they mixed up their addresses and ransacked the wrong home. It just sounds like everything wrong that could ever happen
I would watch
happen.
this. I would watch this. This sounds great. I love it. Steven Seagal shows up at some point, I hope.
He's got a real cop show.
I know. That's why I'm saying I hope he just shows up randomly. He's like a LA or Louisiana decorated cop or some nonsense.
A lot of people don't know this, but for the last 25 years, I've been a cop.
A real
What?
Cop? A real cop? Well, I mean, I played one on TV and then I would show up at people's houses and do random searches. But yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, weird, bizarre idea to be like, let's just really test the limits of our insurance liability policy and see what can happen.
Love it.
Yeah, that's nuts. It sounds like every sort of problem you can possibly have, especially in today's climate. That sounds like a big mistake.
Oh, and it wasn't even that. It's not like this was in the 80s or 90s or something. Like this was in the 2000s.
I mean, it's LaToya Jackson. It could have been any time, really.
Right.
Okay,
She
well,
was pretty
Jack
much doing
Osborne is not 800
That's
years
true.
old.
Wow, I didn't say she was 800. I'm just saying she's been a
No, he was
B-level
just saying
celebrity for her entire
Right.
career.
Yeah, he's just saying that since the 80s, or actually since the 70s, LaToya Jackson was trying to make sure she gets paid
Yeah. She's like,
for anything other than having a real job.
I'm just as talented as Janet. No, you're not, LaToya. Like, even her parents said, no, you're not. Just stop.
You're nowhere near as nasty.
Stop.
Oh, God.
Jack Osborne isn't either. All right, John, what's next?
So my next one is a show that I loved, and it's one of those shows that as an adult it really made me want to like appreciate animals more and more. And I'll tell you what the premise of this is: a man can turn into animals to fight crime.
Yeah, love it.
And the show is called Manimal.
Yes,
Yep.
that is great.
You know that the red-tailed hawk from this show only just passed away like 5 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it like disguised as that dude the whole time?
No, it had a day job over at Disney for a while.
Aw.
They had him working at Disney up until up until about 5 years ago. He only just passed away then. But yeah, that just gives you an idea how long Hawks lived for. But yeah, that show, like I thought everything about it was cool. It didn't have too many seasons to it, but yeah, guy runs around and he's got that. He's that snooty British guy from Jaws 3 or Jaws 2.
3. I think it was 3.
3. Yeah, and he was on Falcon Crest and a bunch of other stuff at the time, and it's like, you know what? Let's put this guy into a series, Simon McCorkindale.
Try again. Breathe. Slow down.
So Manimal was played by Simon McCorkindale, and he was just as snooty as everything else, and he was this guy who learned how to transform himself into animals. I mean, how crazy can you get for an idea?
It's crazy, and I love that show. I absolutely love that show. I used to watch it all the time.
Yeah, I feel like that one was pretty accepted.
Yeah, but it's still a crazy premise. I mean, it's a ridiculous premise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And only lasted one season.
Well, let's put it this way. It's a ridiculous premise with 80s effects. It might be great now.
Oh my God, now it would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be the best show ever. They should remake that one totally. God,
I'm sure they will.
They remake everything else. All right, so my next one is Mr. Smith. It lasted one season, had 13 episodes. Originally a part of the traveling act called the Atwood Orangutans, Cha-Cha and Bobo were separated from their trainer, Tommy Atwood. Cha-Cha is eventually found and sent to a government research center in Washington, D.C. But weeks later, Cha-Cha escapes from the center, ends up in a research lab where he finds an experimental mixture, keep up with me, to increase human intelligence being developed. After drinking the mixture, Cha-Cha is able to talk. His voice was provided by series executive producer Ed Weidenberger and is later determined to have an IQ of 256. He is then renamed Mr. Smith and due to his high intelligence becomes a political advisor. Mr. Smith's old trainer, Tommy, later becomes his assistant while Mr. Smith attempts to solve various political problems and his surrounding staff, which includes his secretary, Raymond Holyoke, and they attempt to keep his identity hidden from the general public. It's a documentary.
I was going to say, can you prove to me that this is not happening right now?
Swear to God, this is a TV show. Wild premise. And it was ridiculous. I did watch this. It was awful.
That's pretty insane.
It was awful. It's like they wanted to make Planet of the Apes for smart people, and they had made the Mark Wahlberg version.
They missed the mark entirely. They overshot it.
They did. Literally, they missed the mark. Yeah. All right, Amanda.
My next one is called The Masked Singer.
Ugh,
This is a more recent show. Imagine your favorite or non-favorite celebrities who think they have a career still singing cover songs while dressed up in massive furries costumes.
Shots fired.
That's The Masked Singer. I have no idea how the show got greenlit. I have no idea how the show continues. I have no idea how people love it so much. It is bizarre, super bizarre. And I've thought that from the moment I saw a trailer.
I know nothing about the show. I have seen some of the commercials of it, but I don't know what kind of people have showed up as being the Masked Singer. But yeah, the whole premise is way too not for me.
Yeah, I watched one episode and swore I'd never waste my time like that again. Now, I know a lot of people love this show, so it's kind of hard to not make fun of it. But it's like every week you're just listening to somebody sing a song and trying to guess who they are. I don't understand the thrill of that. And
they're not like, they're not all singers either. They're just celebrities like Jenny McCarthy. We know she doesn't have a career left. And so she had to find something to do.
Celebrity is a loose term there.
Nick Cannon, Raven Simone. I do like Raven. Kelly Osbourne, Joey Fatone. Like these people, no offense, they had their time and their time expired.
They're trying to keep it going a little bit.
Then they auditioned for the show.
Yeah, I don't.
Now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, this sounds like the perfect show for Generation X. Like all the old Generation Xers who are looking for something to watch on TV. It's like, oh look, nostalgia all over the place. That's Because you just listed a whole bunch of very nostalgic things. Joey Fatone, Generation X eats him up like with a spoon, the Osborne chick. Again, Jenny McCarthy, a whole bunch of Generation Xers grew up with her. And yeah, so I get it.
And still find her attractive.
I mean, I still would.
No, you wouldn't, because she wouldn't.
I just wouldn't have a conversation with her about it.
She wouldn't let you. Plus, you're not vaccinated, so she wouldn't even think about it. All right, what's your next one? I don't get that show. I know I have friends that love that show, and they will tell me that show is just great, and I'm like, I just don't see the greatness there. But I'm glad you're having a fun time. I could do the same thing with my neighbors, just throw a chicken hat on them and say, sing a song. Let me see if I can guess which neighbor you are. Woohoo!
They're in it's legit. It looks like furries costumes, which I have no problem with furries, but it's just a very bizarre television concept. And also really hot to sing within.
Why don't you talk more about how you have a problem with furries?
I do not. Don't say that.
I can hear it in your voice.
No, I don't.
You totally do. Aaron, back me up on this.
I have beloved friends who are furries.
I'm really just trying to figure out like how a celebrity watches this show, puts on that costume, and thinks this is going to help their career. Like they're having a conversation at home with Ozzy. Ozzy, guess what? I'm going to be in this giant Thanksgiving turkey costume, and I'm going to sing songs, and people are going to guess who I am. And Ozzy Osbourne's going to be looking at her like, what are you talking? How many drugs am I on?
He's going to be like, why are you talking about this? I'm the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne. Stop talking about this.
Oh my God.
Bubbles? Why do they have bubbles? I'm the Prince of Darkness.
All right, John, what's your next one?
My next one is another show sticking with the 80s theme and bringing up weird things that we thought were cool in the 80s. A computer-generated superhero and his human creator fight crime in a city. It's a show called Automan. It takes a guy who is really just a computer program, and he's pure energy, and he turns into a car, or he turns into something else, or he just does a whole bunch of other stuff that all computer generated. And again, it's a character that has no personality, but he looks great in that shiny Tron suit that he's wearing the entire time.
It's like Tron Max Headroom mixed or something, right? Something like that.
Yeah, it's like a police procedural with Tron.
It's a cool idea. They just didn't have the effects back then to make that work.
No, they really didn't. Actually, one of the things I remember so much is like when they're driving down the street in the car and the car takes a right turn. The passenger is like smashed up against the window because it takes a right turn like the light bikes in Tron.
Oh, sharp right.
Right.
It's funny. That's funny. If they had the effects, that could be cool. That could be cool. Then again, I thought Max Headroom this show would be cool too, and that wasn't. All right. My Mother the Car. Shout out to Kyle Nolan in our group. He also suggested this, but it debuted in 1965. It ran for 30 episodes. The show follows attorney David Crabtree, who was played by Jerry Van Dyke, who purchases a dilapidated 1928 Porter touring car. Crabtree hears the car call his name in a woman's voice. The car turns out to be, I swear to God, the reincarnation of his deceased mother, Gladys. She talks, only to Crabtree, to the car's radio. The dial light flashes in synchronization with, quote-unquote, mother's voice. In an effort to get his family to accept the old tired car, Crabtree agrees to bring it to a custom body shop for a full restoration. And then this collector keeps wanting to get the car because he loves the restoration of it. Now, I just want to go back. His mom possesses the car, and he has life lessons from his mom, the car. That's a real show. That happened.
Does the car drive without him?
No, it's not Christine.
Does the car help him solve crime?
No. No.
Does
Sounds
the car
not great.
Go in does the car go in like speed boost?
No.
Well, this does not sound anywhere near as cool as Knight Rider.
It's definitely not. I mean, it's basically like you're getting told you're doing everything wrong by your car now. I don't think that sounds great.
Well, my car tells me I'm doing everything wrong now.
You should probably get that fixed.
Beep, beep, put on your seatbelt. Shut your door. Close the trunk. Jesus, my mother is the car.
Right. Oh, your shifter's broken again. What? Oh, God. Are you in park or drive? I don't know. Why are all the lights on?
So that's one. But that actually, I saw that as a kid, and it was the most ridiculous show. I never understood that one.
Yeah, it sounds rather uncomfortable to watch.
Okay, so this is the last one that I have, and I'm
It's fine.
probably going to get banned from everyone after I say it.
I don't know about band, but go ahead.
Well, Breaking Bad.
Oh, you monster! How dare you? I'm sorry. I just want to feed into your expectations.
Thank you. When you hear the premise, it's bizarre. It's so strange to me that this did get processed through. And I mean, the execution was great. So it's not like there's anything wrong with it. But when you just read it, a high school chemistry teacher diagnosed with inoperable lung cancer turns to manufacturing and selling methamphetamine in order to secure his family's future.
Yeah, that plot is why I avoided it for so many years. It just sounded stupid.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's the same exact thing. I did not want to deal with it because it's like, oh, there's no way that's going to be fun to watch.
Yep. It just did not sound interesting.
They did such a great job, though.
They did, but on the same token, I mean, just by going, like, we're just doing plot premises as a premise, it doesn't sound like something I want to watch for weeks on end, for years on end. It just doesn't feel like a ongoing TV show. It just doesn't.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that my wife advocated for this show so much because she had been hearing from other places that were talking about it that was worth watching, I would have never given it a shot. I'm glad I did, but I don't know if I'll ever watch it again.
I only watched it because I was bullied on this very podcast by a former host to watch it, or else they weren't going to talk to me anymore. So I finally did. That's the only reason I watched it. And it took a long time to get through it. But once you do, it's like, wow, it's one of the greatest shows ever to be on TV. But it doesn't sound like it would be. So that's a good pick.
Nope.
That's a pretty strong choice. My fourth pick, because I still have plenty here to go, is a show that
2 more each. You and I have 2 more each.
Yeah. Well, this is my. Anyhow, this one is one that the premise of it is really, to me, like, I'll just tell it to you. A marine biologist, an insurance salesman, a teenage boy find their lives fundamentally changed by an emergence of a new and often dangerous species of sea life, while the government agent keeps the affair under wraps. So I'm gonna reiterate that. A marine biologist and an insurance salesman.
Okay.
Someone who's kind of useful and someone who's not useful at all are going to investigate what the hell's going on with this new species of sea life. Like this, when this show came out, it came out after the whole Lost. Lost was a big deal, and everyone wanted to come up with their version of Lost, and that's what this show was. This was like whatever channel this was on's version of Lost. Now the show itself, the execution of it was actually really good.
What was the title? You never said the title.
Oh, I'm sorry. Surface.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I never watched it, but I remember that being on TV.
It's actually a surprisingly great show and had a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of potential work for it in the future. And it had the story and the world they were building was great. At the same time, the whole premise of it, like, yeah, what's the insurance salesman going to do? Like, is that Jake from State Farm going to help you out?
I'm sure the teenager is the one who messes things up and creates like chaos or whatever in life.
How them Duke boys gonna
actually,
get this one?
Actually, no. This teenager is one of the people who are more useful in this whole process. The guy, the insurance salesman, ends up getting in the way all the time because it's like, I'm the guy and I'm going to go save everyone because I'm the man. And it's like, that's not necessarily how it works, especially considering that the marine biologist is Lake Bell and she's better at everything than you are.
And you're an insurance salesman. Like, what exactly are your skills here? I mean, it's about a marine life.
Right.
You can write a policy on it? I don't understand what you're doing. Get out. Get out. My second to last one is Cavemen from 2007. It's based on the Geico commercials. Yeah, I thought it would be a great idea to give Geico commercials their own show.
Wasn't it the thing that introduced us to Nick Kroll?
Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe. In the series, cavemen were never fully supplanted by modern humans, but they integrated into Homo sapiens civilization as a separate species subgroup. They're basically like a minority that is small but widespread minority that have been present in every global civilization since the dawn of recorded history. In fact, like the opening montage was a bunch of real world events where cavemen would show up, like Egyptian hieroglyphics, George Washington crossing the Delaware River, Abraham Lincoln participating in the space program. It's just dumb. And I just don't know why anyone thought this was a good idea, because once it aired, everyone knew it was already not a good idea. So I don't know why it took getting to air for them to realize it was not a good idea. This is one of the dumbest ideas for a TV show I've ever heard of. Crazy and dumb.
It's really the epitome of a company trying to profit as much as possible off of what they consider their brand. Because at the time, those cavemen commercials, people loved them.
They're hysterical.
Yeah.
So great.
30 seconds at a pop. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they thought that they could profit significantly, like the makers of the television show. Oh, let's just do this based off this commercial that does really well. And it's like, no, 30 seconds, like Aaron said, is a lot different than having to watch an entire show with a plot and actors and not awful facial hair, creature hair, caveman hair. It was bad.
You know, I'm thinking about a way to make the show better. And the way the show could have been better was to make the show more like the commercials, where the cavemen just happen to show up in different places right at the wrong time when someone is like, it's so easy, a caveman can do it. And you look over and the guy's just like, that's real nice. That's really great. And he just storms off.
Or maybe if you threw him in the office at some point, like that could have worked. I could have watched that.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it should have been. Something as simple as that's when he's not the star of the show. He just, every time you turn around, you're in a weird position in which you say something like that. And that's when the caveman just happens to be there.
The show was so bad. Oh my God. They were they had regular jobs. They were just, okay. It's annoying. It's just dumb. It's so dumb. It was like one of those shows that you watch and you get infuriated as you watch it. Like, there's so much wasted. Everyone in the world that's ever enjoyed TV and thought that they had a good idea realized that their idea was better than this show when they watched it. That's just what that show did. All right, John, what's your last one before we go to listener picks here?
All right, so I'm going to give you the story on this. A college student is a live-in housekeeper in the Powell household. Along with his friend Buddy, attempts to juggle his studies, friendships, and duties to the family. Yes, that's right. The show is Charles in Charge. And the reason why this is weird, because at the time it wasn't. At the time it was like, oh, Scott Baio, he's great, he's awesome, he's cool, I want to watch Scott Baio sign. But nowadays I go, what dude who's in college wants to be a housekeeper?
It's a job.
One that needs money.
Yeah, one that needs cash.
One that likes strippers.
I feel like you're making this weirder than it really is. The weird part was he's living in this house and these girls are totally he just looks like he wants to hook up with every one of the young girls that lives in that house. So that's where it got uncomfortable. I wouldn't say the plot is uncomfortable. I say Charles in Charge is uncomfortable. But I like that show.
You had Buddy, Buddy was working on everything he possibly could to have
the sex,
a good time with somebody.
We call it the sex. Yeah.
The sex. So I was trying to be. All of a sudden, I thought at that moment, I was like, you know what? Why don't you keep it clean? No.
Yeah. Charles had a Hulk.
Right.
See? Yeah. It doesn't work, does it? It just doesn't work.
No,
it doesn't work.
Well, I mean, Charles having a Hulk is weird. It is creepy and weird.
Yeah. It was a weird show. I like that show, though. Did you guys watch, or did you watch it, John? Amanda, you probably.
Oh, yeah, I watched it all the time, and I really did like it.
I love that show. I thought it was fun.
That's not really up my alley.
Hey, I don't watch many sitcoms, but I watch Charles in Charge. I don't know. I want Charles in charge of me. I used to sing that stupid song all the time. My last one, this is, to me, the craziest idea for a TV show ever. It's The Bachelor. Yeah, I said it. I know it's super popular.
Hell yeah.
And that includes The Bachelorette, whatever form of Bachelor you prefer. I think it's an insane and preposterous idea for a TV show. I mean, its reality series revolves around a single bachelor or bachelorette who begins with this pool of romantic interests, and he's expected to pick a wife or a husband out of it. He or she is supposed to pick a wife or a husband out of it. And during the course of the season, the bachelor eliminates candidates each week, eventually culminating in a marriage proposal to the final selection. And the participants they travel to these romantic and exotic locations for their dates, and somehow no one has ever been murdered. This show makes no sense to me at all. And everyone on it is the worst kind of person, in my opinion. Like, every time I've caught fleeting glances of it, because I refuse to watch this, I've caught fleeting glances of it, and it's like everybody involved is the exact kind of person I want nothing to do with. But I know tons of people that watch the show that I think are wonderful, sweet, caring, selfless people. And I'm like, why are you like, this is the opposite of who you are. And then I'm like, maybe in your soul, that's what you want to be. But at the show.
The problem I have with this show, aside from the absurdity of finding your true love by doing a math problem saying subtract, subtract, subtract. Okay, this is all that's left now. The problem I have with it is the TV show was created in a culture and society and still runs in a culture and society where monogamy is like the pinnacle of life. You could not do anything worse. You could not do anything more absurd or harmful in people's eyes than to cheat on their spouse or their person, or to have multiple people at once.
There's a lot of things worse than that, like stabbing them in the eye, maybe cutting their brake lines. There's a lot of things worse. So let's not get too crazy. There was a
survey that was done that asked people what they would have a harder time with, their husband cheating on them or their husband driving drunk with their children in the car. And the survey found that people selected their husband cheating on them as more like significant and impactful.
I'm sure there are surveys that find that Brad Pitt is not as pretty as Chris Rock, but that doesn't make it so.
Okay, well, let me just get back to my point. The point is, this is the culture that we still live in, where monogamy is like the most profound type of relationship, like whatever. However, you want to gather people and say, you get 14 women to choose from, whatever the number is, and only one dude. Go ahead and make out with all of them and narrow your choice down. We'll give you that. We'll sign up. I'm all for it. And then we expect the rest of society who feeds into that culture to not take part of that in their own lives. It's a very weird, hypocritical thing that happens. And it's just, to me, that is so absurd that the same people who hate that in reality love to watch that, are driven by the entire premise of the show.
Yeah, you love a booty call sampler platter. What's up with that?
That's my favorite way to phrase it. A booty call sampler platter.
I knew a guy who went out of town for a couple of months and came back to find out that his girlfriend was a contestant on that show.
No.
Are you serious?
Yeah, share the skinny. What happened?
No, that's so like I don't remember all the details anymore, but
which one was she? What season?
I don't care about that.
She was in like season 2 or season 3. But like, he took an important like assignment in like Ireland or England or something like that, so he had to be gone for a while, and so without even telling him, she had auditioned for the show and ended up getting on it. And then I don't remember how far she got, but I think she got pretty far into the show where it was between her and somebody else at the very end.
Ooh, so she was on antibiotics for sure.
Right. Well, yeah. And like he gets back.
There's some penicillin involved in that. Second or third place, definitely penicillin.
He gets back and like everyone goes, did you know about this whole Bachelor thing? And he's like, what about this? What do you mean that I know about this Bachelor thing? And then he confronts her and she's like, well, I didn't really mean anything I said on the show. I was just getting on the show for the sake of getting on the show. And he's like, we saw what you did on that show.
I'm acting.
It's all an act. That's all it was. Yeah, it was.
There's probably truth to that.
Train wreck.
There's probably truth to that, but that doesn't make it any less despicable. The whole thing is despicable. There's a number of people who have made careers off of being on that show. I will. That's what I find weird. I'll go on the record. I don't blame China. I blame the Bachelor for the coronavirus. That's what I'm going to say. It's their fault. They spread it.
I think before the Bachelor, there was a show called The Swan.
Yeah, I remember The Swan. Yeah.
Like, you want to talk about something that's a little despicable. Amanda, did you ever see The Swan on Fox?
I did not watch it, but I know what it is.
Oh, I used to watch it. I thought it was fascinating, where women go and they become contestants on this show, and the whole premise is that they're housewives who I don't know, some of them look okay and some of them look like they got dragged behind a truck, and then they
Extreme Makeover would have worked.
and then they turn around and they give them hundreds of thousands of dollars of plastic surgery to see if they make them prettier. And then there's a whole beauty pageant at the end of the show, at the end of the episode, between the contestants on each episode. And I think, in whole, the idea is despicable as far as like where our priorities were, but it's ultimately fascinating to watch.
Yeah. That's where we are as society.
The lengths people will go to for their physical. I'll be ugly as shit. I don't care as long as I'm not stupid, and that's a lot of money. To me, that's stupid.
I just want to know, like, what happened in your life that you got to the point where I'm going to line up with 19 other women and beg for this douchebag to like me, even though he doesn't really like me, and we're going to work toward a marriage proposal. He's gonna make out with all of these women, the sampler platter. He's gonna make out with all of them. This is the guy I want to marry. Come on. It's just such a ridiculous concept.
And the fact that it's so accepted is terrifying to me.
I don't understand why everyone's like, oh my God, it's so romantic.
We have different definitions of romance.
Yeah, I honestly don't think people think it's as romantic anymore, because a lot of the luster has come off the show, and now it's more about the trash, and it's starting to become more like watching Flavor of Love without without all the fights is really what it is.
Yeah, it's like Jerry Springer with love. That's really what the show's become. All right, listener comments. Let's whip through these pretty quick so we can end this show. Amanda, what listener picks for? We asked in our Facebook group. We asked listeners, what do you got? And there's a lot of responses, so we're just going to have to pick a few. So, Amanda, what do you got?
First one is from Kyle Nolan, and I will say that this is a show we reserved to allow him to have his listener pick. We did not forgo it because it is not ridiculous. It certainly is, and that's Cop Rock. The premise was a pretty normal cop show, but with singing.
Yeah, that was pretty insane.
It's kind of cool, though.
I don't know what they were thinking.
I don't know.
Iconically weird.
It was kind of cool. It's kind of cool.
Kyle Nolan came in with two other things that I have to bring up right away, which is he talked about Otherworld, which is a show that only lasted 8 episodes, but I remember watching all 8 of each of these episodes, and I thought it was a great show. It's kind of like the idea of Sliders, but different. And then he also brought up how the 80s cartoons always were trying to capitalize off of different toys, and one of them in particular was the the Amazing Cube one.
Oh yeah.
It's like, okay, let's try to make the Rubik's Cube a little bit more special than it really is.
Let's make a cartoon out of a Rubik's Cube. Kyle apparently watched a lot of TV. That's what I'm getting. Kyle watched a lot.
Yeah,
of
I'm
TV.
getting that too.
Yeah. Good for you, though. Good for you. What else you got, Amanda? Listeners.
Brian Williams, he said, watched one the other day on Netflix called Into the Night. Man hijacks an airplane and demands it head west, because if they're around when the sun rises, they'll all die.
Okay. So vampires on a plane? I don't know what that is. That's weird. Okay. Anything else?
Are you sick and tired of all these vampires on this?
Yeah.
The last one comes from Josh Steima. He said, I loved it as a kid and still do to this day, but on paper, SpongeBob SquarePants is an animated acid trip and had no business working as well as it does. Very clever, extremely energetic, and I have to agree, that show is wild
that's
on paper.
Weird. It's definitely weird. John, did you have any left, or you just use all of Kyle's?
No, I got a couple more. Scott Callgirls talked about the Greatest American Hero, which for those who don't remember that show, shame on you. But a loser high school teacher is given a Superman suit that was created by aliens, but he lost the instruction book, so he doesn't know what the suit can do.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, so the whole time he's just being an awkward clown flying around and doing stupid stuff, and he just has no idea what he's doing. The premise of it is kind of silly, but the acting and then the theme song, which is iconic at this point, all those things make it such a great show.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
And then Ty Nelson brought up BJ and the Bear, which is a show that I missed, but for those who don't know it, BJ and the Bear is all about a truck driver whose best friend is a chimpanzee, and they go on these nutty adventures throughout the American countryside. Again, it's a show I missed, but the 80s were rife with monkey shows, and one of them reminded me of was Lancelot Link. Did you ever watch that, Aaron?
No, I watched BJ and the Bear. I didn't watch Lancelot Link. No, BJ and the Bear was fun. What was Lancelot Link?
All right, so Lancelot Link was... the entire cast of a show was made up of chimps, and Lancelot was a secret agent. So think of like Get Smart or any of those other like Mission Impossible, but all done by chimps.
I saw this bizarre trip.
This sounds like something I would watch once and then never want to see it again in my lifetime.
Oh my God. It was on Sci-Fi Channel and I watched it all every Saturday morning.
They had like they did costumes for them.
Yeah.
Like wigs and
wigs, and they had their like they put like peanut butter or whatever in their teeth so they start moving their.
I just did like the Ape Mission Impossible theme and you just completely ignored it, but whatever. Just continue with your thought.
He looks so sad right now. I wish people could see.
Pretty proud of that.
You gonna push your limp out any further?
No, now I'm gonna move on to my listener picks. All right, Jeff Childs, The Patty Duke Show, identical twin brothers, marry identical twin sisters, and produce identical cousins. Yeah, weird idea. And somehow they tried to make it work. Tracy Heinrich's Jane the Virgin. I've never watched this, but Jane's vow to save her virginity until marriage becomes seemingly false when a doctor mistakenly artificially inseminates her during a checkup. That's the plot, but to make matters worse, the biological father is a married man, a former playboy, and a cancer survivor who is not only the new owner of the hotel where Jane works, but also her former teenage crush. What the hell kind of show is this? Sounds awful.
That does sound awful.
There's a TV show that came out last year that's similar to that because it's called Almost Family, and it's the one with Brittany Snow, and he's the doctor that secretly inseminated a bunch of his patients because he's a fertility doctor, and then he finds out he has this giant family of people that he had gotten pregnant, and the kids are now adults.
Well, that sounds disgusting, but how do you mistakenly
I don't know how you accidentally do
artificially, I've never watched the show, but how do you mistakenly artificially inseminate a woman during a checkup?
That's not how my checkups have gone.
I hope not. I would talk to somebody. Lastly, Scott Clark.
Oops, I fell in.
Lastly, Scott Clark, Out of the World was a sitcom about a 13-year-old girl who's half alien. She communicates with her dad through a crystal in her bedroom, and her half alien side grants her powers like freezing time and place, and she can unfreeze a person by touching them. That just sounds like one of those 80s or 90s shows they just tried way too hard to make work. Sounds ridiculous.
I think I'll watch this one, and yeah, it's right there with how hard they worked.
Okay, that's it for that topic. Good topic, guys. So closing thoughts, any recommendations of any film or TV shows we haven't talked about yet?
You know, on your recommendation or how your review of Upload went last week, I went ahead and watched the series this weekend. And I thought I was going to just sit down and watch an episode or two here or there. And I ended up watching the entire series. I adore that show. It's I think it's one of my favorite shoys for this year. Yes.
And there's been a lot of TV this year, just no movies.
Yeah, there's been a lot of TV. And, you know, and for those who Aaron equates it a lot to a more technological version of The Good Place, which, yes and no. It doesn't have like the comedy beats that The Good Place has, but it has a lot of heart to it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the heart of what The Good Place has, it's in there, but it has more of a mystery side on it as well.
A little mythology in the back end. Yeah.
Yeah, a whole nice little mythology to it. I would actually say that this is like a perfect marriage of The Good Place and the show Eureka.
Interesting.
That's cool. And Andy Allo, I can't say it enough. Like she is amazing. And she's got a beautiful voice.
She is captivating.
She used to sing with Prince, I found out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She was captivating to watch.
Yep. Man.
I caught Dead to Me season 2, and if you have not watched the show for the first season, you need to get on it. It has Christina Applegate in it as the leading lady, and her husband dies, and she's trying to figure out what's going on with it, and people in her life seem to be connected in some way to his death. And so it's really bizarre. That's actually a bizarre premise too. But the second season is still pretty ramped up in terms of the content for it. It feels a little bit slower than the first season did, but there's still a lot of really great moments, and the story I've enjoyed. So
keep meaning to check that one out. I do.
Oh, you have to. It's so good.
Oh, man, if I had a nickel for every show I have to check out right now, I would be
They're
so
short.
rich. Yeah.
They're short. There's like 8 or 10 episodes.
There's other shows I want to check out. I still want to watch Devs. I haven't watched that yet. I started watching Bosch this past week, which I haven't seen. A lot of people have raved about it for years. And I'm like, I just never got around to it. And I've had, I don't know how many people tell me, this is right up your alley, Aaron. You're going to love this show. And I'm like, yeah. But just like so many other things right now, I'm like, I don't have time. I do like to go outside, even though I'm not allowed to. I like to wander the yard now and again. And, I like to read once in a while. So I can't just watch TV all day. But I finally started watching it, and it's definitely up my alley. It's got great character development. I think I'm already in near the end of season 2, and it keeps getting better and better. As you watch this show, John?
Yes. Yeah, season 3 I think is better than both the first 2 seasons. That's where, to me, I was like, okay, now the show is really hitting its stride. The first 2 seasons I thought were good, but it's the kind of show where I can eventually walk away from if I felt like I had to. But season 3 was really well done. Yeah,
and I do like where each season is its own. There's like a big mystery and a small mystery, is what it seems like. And the case stretches out throughout the season. And that's got some really good character development. Like, as I've gone on, I'm, like I said, near the end of the second season, and I can't wait to finish it out and start the third. Like, that's how much I'm into it. So
season 4 just came out.
They're on season 7.
Are they on season 7?
They just did 6. I think 7. The final season is coming out next year. So yeah, you're behind a little bit.
Wow, I didn't know I was that far behind.
Yeah. See? Because of all the other stuff that people threw on your plate. I'm like, I got to watch that.
Yeah, I know. Everyone keeps on giving us homework.
All right. Well, share your thoughts on this episode or anything else in our Facebook group or on Twitter at BuyPopcorn. Our website is thehollywoodoutsider.com, where you can read my full Snowpiercer review if you want more details. Email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Please rate us and subscribe on your preferred podcast app. It really does help the show. Again, our Patreon is patreon.com/thehollywoodoutsider. You can find John's artwork on Insta and everywhere else at rjohndraws, Amanda on Veronica's Marshmallows and Smirk, and at Sink Into This. Me on The Blacklist Exposed, Beyond Westworld, and Presenting Hitchcock, and at Aaron Smirks. But now the HO Teachable Minute before we're out of here, and it's Amanda. So in 1 minute or less, tell the audience one thing you learned this week.
So while I was watching Dead to Me, I did not realize the full capacity of street cameras. And I did a little bit of digging to figure out what the actual capacity of them are, because I knew that there were like red light cams and stuff, and I just always figured that they got your license plate number. I did not realize that, at least because it's not in my city, there are like regular street cameras that people can install and that are just around the city. And so they're like Ring doorbell quality, where you can just like look out and see everything that's going on clear as day. And so that was frightening to find out.
Yeah.
Like your neighbors could literally be spying on you at any moment.
They probably are.
I have cameras in the front of my house.
Yeah. I have one in the front of my house, and I use it to spy on people, sure. From
I
inside
have
my
one
house.
In the front, but like,
what's my neighbor doing? You pull up a little app and you're like, oh, that's what that son of a bitch doing. All right. Did his dog just what in my yard? All right.
Who just rang my doorbell? Who just walked up to my house? Yeah, I mean, I like to know these sorts of things.
It's important information. Haven't you ever seen it in the cop shows? I mean, they do it in cop shows and movies all the time. We're like, blow up the cam. And they've got like this sparkling, crystal clear image of whatever.
But I always thought that was BS. And no, like the cameras are really good, clear quality.
Well, they are now, yeah. But you can watch like 10 years ago, they're still doing the same thing. And they would always zoom in and they could see schematics and shit.
It somehow gets less pixelated as they zoom in.
Yeah. Zoom in on that suspect. Oh, look, there are the bank plans right there in his pocket. Zoom in on that.
Right.
We got it all.
You can read every sort of letter. How did you get more resolution out of a low resolution image?
Zoom in, focus. Oh yeah. Can you make this, can you take this fuzzy picture, make it clear? Oh yeah, definitely. We've got software for that. Really? That's impressive. Yeah. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Remember, the next time you head to a theater in July, if Milan holds and Tenet holds, buy popcorn. God.
Ooh, I can't wait to see Tenet.
When do we change our tagline? Because I don't know if theaters are ever opening again.
You can always do popcorn.
Next time you go to the kitchen, popcorn.
I kind of like it.
Orville Redenbacher needs money too, We got to support him.
I think he's fine. He'll be all right.
He's been profiting for years.
Yeah. And also, I think he traffics children.
God, I hope that's not true.
Orville Redenbacher is not listening to this. He's dead.
Plus, I heard it.
His family
I
could
heard
be.
it. Doesn't mean I know it.
Oh, okay.
I heard it from a guy.
Right, so allegedly.
I heard it from a guy in the apricot aisle.
The apricot aisle?
Very specific.
Well, yeah, it was because Aaron was going the wrong way down the aisle, so the guy yelled at him. You know, he was like, "What are you, like Orville Redenbacher and how you traffic children?" And Aaron's like, "I'm sorry, I guess I should go the other way."
Exactly what happened.
Weird analogy, but I love it. I thought you were
see
about
how
to
I
say that
feel?
you would put money into this.
Somebody's got to
do
put all
you-
that butter away.
Right. They're putting the butter someplace.
All right.
Oh,
Stop.
don't do the sound effect.
We're done. Amanda, what are you doing?
I'm just trying to move some stuff and reorganize this placement because it's very frustrating, but I don't think this is any better. I'm
Well,
losing the
microphone pointed down probably won't do you much good, but this
Well, it
is
fell off.
great radio. I think this
is
should be
awful.
absolutely
I'm
the
going to go
podcast.
back to how it was.
Are you mixing a tape? Are you doing a little DJing?
That's Johnny.
You know, the fact that she had to turn her camera off makes me wonder if she is actually wearing pants or
I
not.
don't think she's wearing pants, man.
What?
Nothing.
Like, you were like, "I'm wearing pants today." Uh-huh. But let me make sure I turn off the camera before I stand up and walk away. What?
Yeah.
Well, they're pajama shorts and they don't exactly
not
cover my butt
pants.
cheeks.
Those aren't pants.
They're pants enough.
They're
They
pants.
cover the
really-
front.
Now we've gotten to the place where we're pants-esque. Shit.